Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. And good morning, Dorothy.
Good morning, Bill.
We've had so many shows this year about 2020. And we've talked... we've talked enough, and you and I have had a chance to talk a lot in between tapings and during sets about how crazy our real estate market has been this year.
I don't know how you sleep.
Yeah, well, I don't know how I sleep either.
I think you do real estate in your sleep or something. That's the only way you can get it all done.
This has been a frenetic year, and it's been a lot of juggling and a lot of multitasking, and we can complain all day. They're good problems. The logistics of what we do have been kind of ramped up a lot this year, but nowhere near as much as the 2 people that I have sitting with me at the table who have to be logistics experts.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking to the owners of Miracle Movers for the balance of the show and what the process looks like. We have so many buyers and sellers in our market. Well, we have way more buyers than we do sellers right now.
So it appears.
Yeah, and between the multiple offers, the bidding...
You're a juggling expert now, aren't you?
Compared to the 2 people at the table, I'm not even an athlete. It is, about a year ago, in December of 2019, I sold my house and I moved. And I swore, and every time I've done it, I've sworn it's the last time I'm going to do it because it is the most numbing experience.
Yes,
of
it is.
Organizing, of decluttering, of minimizing.
Yep.
And then I couldn't find Q-tips. I couldn't find checkbooks, stuff that I thought I would pack and label so well.
Yeah, right.
I just gave up after a while. And compound that with the fact that I couldn't move from the home that I was selling to the home I was purchasing, so I had to take an exit ramp and put stuff in storage.
That makes life even harder.
Yeah, for a couple of months.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress and good stress and bad stress for sellers and for buyers. So they get to the point where they get a contract acceptance. Then they start the planning phase. After they've gone through their repairs, their due diligence issues, and they get to closing. Then, or just prior to getting to closing, they have to start making plans to move, coordinating dates, and the military that has been moving quite a bit, they have to earmark dates ahead of time and keep their fingers crossed that everything works out well.
Yeah.
In a million years, I would not want to do what Ashley and Donnie Terrell do.
No.
You guys, I want to say good morning. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. I don't know how you all sleep, but our business and your business parallels one another. We're so busy, so you guys must be nuts. I'll just say good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning, Bill.
Did I characterize your the parameters of what you guys do? Has 2020 been crazy?
It has been absolutely nuts.
Nuts.
We have doubled pretty much every month.
Yep.
What we did of 2019.
Yep.
With the housing market the way it is, we've had to hire a lot more people. We've had to buy more trucks.
Right.
Just to keep up with the demand.
Right.
Of everybody moving.
Right. You get you have relationships with a lot of the people in the real estate community, and you have to react and turn on a dime sometimes because when you get a phone call, your client is frenetic because now they have a contract. Now they have to schedule a date, right? And the logistics start right away. And you want to please everybody that reaches out to you.
Yeah, and it can be a little trying at times. We do our best to accommodate everyone, especially in the summertime when more families are moving, and just because of the way the housing market has been,
Yep.
it's been a little bit tough to accommodate everyone.
Right.
There are some jobs we've actually had to turn away just because we couldn't put the proper crew on them just because there are so many houses selling in the area. It is it's just been, we're grateful, extremely grateful that the business has been the way it's been. But like you said, it can be a logistical nightmare sometimes.
Couple of years ago, Ashley, you came in to our office and you made a presentation to our brokers.
Mm-hmm.
It was before the market was so frenetic.
Yes.
Even last December when I moved, I remember calling and speaking to Donnie back in early November, a full month ahead of time, to set a date. And it didn't really seem like the market had amped up that much at that point. But right as you turned into 2020, oh boy, it just took off like a rocket. How do you manage the day-to-day, the stresses? Because you can't please everybody. And people, they just think they make a phone call to a mover and they give you a date and that's it. And then they'll just book it like a dentist appointment.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way.
No, and we strive for excellence.
Yeah.
So there are times when, Donnie and I will, look at something and say, is this, feasible for us to do to make, 100% excellence for this customer?
Right.
And if we can't, then we will tell them, this is what we're capable of. And, we have excellent customer service. That's mainly what I focus on, kind of getting out and doing the promotions and beating the streets. So, I'll kind of amp things up and then pass that along to Donnie. But he does take this to heart. I mean, this is a business that was started by our nephew, and he literally was renting U-Hauls and, just doing day labor crews and just doing local moves out of Wilmington.
Right.
And he really put his heart and soul into this business and has built this up. We now are one of how many locations, Donnie?
We just opened up our 9th location.
And this has been something that is pretty much family owned and operated. So this is how we take care of our families. And I know if I was in the same situation, I would want to be taken care of in that same personal touch.
The 9 locations you're talking about, is that under your oversight?
No, that's under what Chris does is he hires people within. That's why, with our company, whenever we bring somebody on, even if they're a young man or somebody with experience, we look at, we tell everybody they have a chance to move up or to, I guess the word I'm looking for is to advance with our company.
Right.
Every location we have has worked, that is ran by somebody has pretty much worked under my nephew in Wilmington.
Gotcha.
And he's worked for them probably for a solid year.
Right.
And then if he thinks they have what it takes, he'll give them an opportunity to open up their own location.
Okay.
So, we have Raleigh, we have Greensboro, we opened up in Charlotte, we have an office in Myrtle Beach, we have an office in Charleston, we opened up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this year, and
really?
This month is our brand new opening in Atlanta, Georgia.
I remember 5 years ago, Miracle Movers was not on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
Even at the time you came in to address one of our sales meetings, it was about 2 years ago.
Yes.
It was barely on my radar screen. Today, it's like right in front of my big nose, because we have so many conversations with our clients about movers. And, we try so hard to direct traffic and give them the best referrals we can. And so you guys have had a meteoric rise How long have you both been in business under the Miracle Movers name?
July 2017 is
Okay.
when we opened up a location here. So a little over 3 years now.
Okay. So in that 3-year period, you guys have actually gotten to a point where you are on the tip of a lot of people's tongues, either through your social media marketing. Are you farming and working locally because you guys are focused in Moore County?
Our offices in Cameron, our main 2 areas for our local moves is Moore County and Cumberland County.
Okay.
And we really push a lot harder in Moore County.
Yeah.
We love our clients, Pinehurst, Aberdeen, Whispering Pines.
Yep.
We've really built up a good rapport with real estate agents.
Yep.
And just with our clients here.
Right.
Probably 50% of our business now is real estate referrals or word of mouth from people in the Pinehurst area.
You took the question out of my mouth. What percentage of your business is referrals? And the second part of that question would be, what percentage of your business are military referrals?
Probably, as far as military referrals, probably around, I'm going to say 20 to 30%.
Okay.
We do a lot of what they call DIY moves for the military, just because it's hard for the companies that have government contracts to keep up.
Right.
And I feel like we put a little more personalized service to the client versus a huge company that's coming in that's just going to show up with a driver and he's going to hire day laborers to come move a client and doesn't give them guaranteed dates. They may have a 2-week window. You know, if they're moving to St. Louis, they may not know. They may have 2 weeks with somebody else's family on the truck also. We move one family at a time when it's going out of state. And I do feel like it's the same crew that loads here that's going to be unloading out of state. So, and they have the crew leader's phone number, and a lot of military love that just because they give guaranteed dates. You know, when we load up, we're heading out that day or the next day to whatever state we're going to. So I'm gonna say at the end, probably the last week of July, we were in 7 different states moving military families. And that was a logistical nightmare, but we got it done.
And you guys you move anywhere. I mean,
anywhere. We're licensed to move anywhere in the continental United States. I actually have a crew on their way from Kansas City to Texas right now. I'll just tell this little story. We moved a client, a family from Pinehurst to Kansas City back in May. And they were really happy with our service. So they called us up a month ago. They want to move to Texas now. And instead of hiring a mover company out of Kansas City, they hired us to drive to Kansas City to load them up and move them to San Antonio, Texas.
Is this a military couple?
No, this is not a military family. This is just a family that was living here in the Pinehurst area.
No kidding.
So I have guys on their way to San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
To unload right now.
So in our business, people can go online and they start to type in movers. They get inundated with information about, lots of people who are in the business, and how do people in the public absorb all that information so they can make informed decisions? Because you have to go out and pitch. So past referrals are the best way to get business, but you're in a situation where there's no referral, you just get a cold call. How do you pitch your services against a backdrop of some of the national branded companies that are here in town, some of the people that run a small business kind of locally? What are the things that you try to hit on to convince people that going with Miracle Movers is their best bet?
Well, the first thing we explain to the client is how we're going to come in and prep their furniture. Everything gets completely padded and shrink wrapped.
Yeah. Yep.
And we also tell them to look at our reviews. You can go, it's Miracle Mover Sandhills. Just Google it, and miraclemoversandhills.com, and you can look at our reviews. They're not perfect, but I think right now we have 131 reviews on there, and there may be
you do 131,
and there may be 2 negative that I'm not even going to get into. But we work hard for those reviews. We earn those reviews.
That's right.
And we also, every job, we explain to people that every job has a qualified crew leader, that we do not hire day laborers, that all my guys that work for us have background checks so we know who's in your home.
Yep.
And, we care about what we do. This is, when my wife says I take this to heart, I do take it to heart. This is how I feed my family. And, our name means a lot to us. So, I'm very particular on how I want things done in a home. And then I explained to them we're going to use floor runners in the house. We're going to do whatever it takes to protect their floors. We'll cover their staircase. We use door jamb protectors to protect the walls. We're not just throw it on the truck kind of movers. We're going to come in and prep that furniture properly before it's ever loaded on a truck.
So I can attest to everything you just said because I saw it firsthand with my move. And I want to talk about that on the second set a little bit and about the quality of the crew and the guys and how careful they were and how they did shrink wrap everything and how they were highly considerate. But, and there's a big but, we're in a business and I'm in the same business you're in. You can't please everybody all the time, and no matter what you do, some people are going to find something to find fault with.
No doubt.
No doubt, right? And they're going to drive you crazy. And it happens. And I would guess it probably happens more in your business than it does in mine because people are losing control when they're seeing their things being packed up. And they might hover, and drive the guys crazy. So they have to practice patience, bite their tongue. The impact of a move psychologically has so many ramifications.
And we try to be really sensitive to that.
Yeah.
We have also moved, and, we've had our guys move us, but we've also moved with other movers. And that has been, quite an experience. You want to know that your stuff is being cared for, especially personal items.
Yep.
Donnie and I, one of the main things that I wanted to comment on that we also let our clients know is that we are licensed, bonded, and insured. So those three things are extremely important to have when you're hiring a mover. And we also encourage our clients to get other estimates.
Right.
We're here to do the best that we can for you. We may not always be the cheapest, but I can promise you that we will take care of your stuff with the utmost respect, like it's ours. Donnie will come in and do free estimates. And, in that, he lets the customer know, exactly what they're going to be getting into. But he also asks, if you don't use us, make sure that the mover that you are using is licensed, bonded, and insured.
Yeah.
And the movers, any moving company in North Carolina has to be licensed by the North Carolina Utilities Commission. Our number is 2889. And the problem you have is you have a lot of companies that are so-called licensed. They say they're licensed and insured, but pretty much all that means is they have a driver's license and they have a insurance on the Penske truck they're renting.
Okay.
To move somebody for money in the state of North Carolina, you have to be licensed. Okay. If you hire a non-licensed mover and if something gets damaged, there's nothing holding them accountable. Yeah. By law, any furniture that we prep and move for a client, we have to give them what they call basic value protection at no charge. Mm-hmm. So they do have some protection right off the bat. And like Ashley was saying, we do, we come in and we give free in-home estimates. Yeah. I love going and meeting the client. And this is another thing. The problem you run into sometimes in getting estimates is people come in and they'll lowball the estimate just to get the work and then charge you a lot more afterwards. Right. Whenever I walk into a client, I'm up front with them and I tell them, I'm not going to come in here and offer you this sweet looking deal just to get your business. I'm going to actually probably estimate it a little bit on the high side and hopefully come out below. Yep. Because I would rather under promise and over deliver than the opposite.
Again, I can attest to that, and I'll share a little bit more of my experience with you. We're going to come back in the second set. We're speaking with Miracle Movers and the challenges and the benefits that they have and they offer to the public in what has been a very busy real estate year. This is All Things Mark County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our second set. We're speaking with Ashley and Donnie Terrell from Miracle Movers, and all the logistics and the challenges of being a mover that can, please their client, give them all the good hard information up front so there are no surprises down the road. I've had some instances this year where my buyer client they've threatened to sue their mover. They were so upset that the people that went on social media and did some advertising got her business. They didn't do what they promised they would do. They held her up. She had a delay in her closing. She couldn't get into the home for possession. In other words, to get them, a buyer sets up a date to move furniture into a home. But with the delays in closing sometimes, it's difficult to get what's called a buyer possession for the property, even a buyer possession for storage purposes. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened in this case. And all I could hear was the angst in her voice, how disappointed she was. She wound up speaking, and at that point in time when she was ready to complain, there was nobody to talk to. So they sort of left her high and dry. So Donnie, you were speaking in the first set about trying to be so upfront at the beginning so that there are no surprises down the road where other people will go in and they'll either low bid or they'll say what they need to say to get the business and then deal with the consequences later.
Yeah, that's not the way we operate. I treat people the way I want to be treated.
Right.
And honestly, I would rather lose the business or not get the business than I would come in and mislead somebody.
Right.
We're not perfect. We make mistakes sometimes, but we do everything in our power to avoid it. You cause a client a lot more issues when you go in and mislead them just to get the business. Mm-hmm. It's not fair to the client. They're under enough stress. Mm-hmm. They have a ton of stress and just trying to get their home sold. And like what you were saying, just with the closing of houses, we have to work around that all the time because I'm going to say probably 2 out of 10 closings, there's a hiccup.
Right.
It just seems like they got delayed. There's something that gets signed and the client's stressing out. What am I going to do? Right. And we do our best to accommodate the client in that. Sometimes we have to hold it up in a truck. Sometimes we do have to charge a little extra if we have to hold it in a truck for a night or two just because, it's delaying us. We may have to go rent a truck for another job, just to get all the jobs done. But we do our best to accommodate the client in everything that we do. So, it's just the same thing. We do a lot of military moves like we talked about, and we do a lot where a lot of times the husband is deployed. Right. And the wife is at home. She's got a job. She's taking care of the kids. Right. And the last thing they need is for a mover or for me to go in there and mislead them on something. It's our job to take the stress away, right, not to add stress. Right. And whether it be a military client or an elderly couple or just a young couple that's moving, that's our job to make the move as stress-free as possible.
To the public, I would say that your job is just rife with things that can go wrong, challenges, timing that are beyond your control. And I see it all the time from a distance as a broker with my clients, and I always say to them, if you can, try so hard to go with the flow the best you can. Things are out of everyone's control sometimes, and we have to react and pivot. Some people show a high character when they're able to do that, and that's the only way I'm going to say it, and Ashley's smiling at me. Yes. Some people get maybe too antsy or too impatient. It's got to be done, their way or the highway. But having that coaching moment at the beginning, mentoring the client and explaining the things that can go wrong. We don't want our clients to ever have a deer in the headlights look. I'm sure you don't want your clients to either. But the reality is it happens. When it happens, you have to listen, you have to counsel, you have to show empathy, sympathy. Meanwhile, you have 5 other phone calls coming in from logistics for 5 other moves. How do you do it?
We have a very good staff. That's the only thing I don't do it by myself. I have Ashley, I have, Lisa that answers the phone every day, and, Bill who's out estimating jobs. It's a family of people that makes this happen. It's and it's not always easy. It's extremely difficult sometimes because, you may have like tomorrow, say we have 4 jobs going on tomorrow, and then Thursday we have 4 jobs scheduled, and but then you have a client that there's a hiccup in the closing, and now they can't move till the next day. So then you're trying to figure out how to juggle. You already got a book schedule for 2 days from now, so then you have to figure out how to juggle the schedule, and it's a process of making everybody happy, and it can be trying at times.
In addition to the shrink wrapping, packing furnishings, you also offer packing services.
Yes, sir.
And I think some people say, "Oh, I'll do my own packing with some things," and she's laughing at me again.
Yes.
And other people will say, "Sure," but when you go through the a la carte menu and you start to add everything up, do you get resistance when you start to quote on the packing services?
Sometimes, sometimes like especially on a local move, packing can be just as much as a local move.
Sure, makes sense. Yeah,
it's a time-consuming deal, and it has to be done properly.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come in and we'll do a complete pack job. Some clients say, well, maybe I'll pack some of it. We'll come in and even do a partial pack job if you need us to.
Right.
We have some clients that, and I tell them when I come in and do the estimate, and I can tell they have a lot of items, and it may be just one person that's going to try to tackle, a 4-bedroom house on their own. And I'll just tell them, say, look, call me 3-4 days before the move.
Yep.
If you're getting overwhelmed,
Yep.
if you'll call me, I can send somebody in
Right.
to help you finish this up. We don't have to have the whole job. We can do a quarter of it or half of it for you. But don't get overwhelmed, because we don't want to show up on move day and then there's lamps and there's this or that that's not packed properly, because it can't be loaded on a truck properly unless it's in a box.
I was amazed to see your crew of 4 or 5 guys that you had sent to my house, how they packed my furniture, shrink wrapped everything, dismantled the beds, saved the nuts and the bolts, packed them all together. I watched it. It was like music. I didn't use you for a packing service because, Dorothy, you know about my shaving collection and all those glass bottles that were, I think I had 12 boxes that Chelsea had hand-wrapped, tissue-wrapped everything. And I wasn't going to let anybody touch that stuff. So I did all that. But these guys were so good and so courteous that and so efficient. They got me, and I moved 350 yards from the house I sold to the house I moved to. But the truck, when it was loaded, it took the morning. You went and put it in storage for me for a couple of months until I could move into the house, which was so close. But all the packing still had to be done, as you said. Something came up with these guys. I was so impressed with them. At the end, I tipped them. And I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the tipping policies and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And I don't know if you these guys were appreciative, but they seem surprised, like they don't usually get tips.
They do get tips. Some clients tip, some don't. I'll have clients call me and say, what should I tip the guys? I said, if you're happy with the service,
right.
That's totally up to you. I've got some of our guys, we took a load from here, Pinehurst to Texas about 2 months ago, and the client tipped every one of them $200 a piece.
Oh my goodness.
Now, sometimes they'll get $10 a piece. Sometimes they'll get
Oh my goodness.
$40 a piece. It's up to the client. We do not ask for tips.
Right.
My guys know we do not ask for tips. That's
right.
not, But if you're happy with the service,
Right.
and you want to show your appreciation to them, hey,
Yeah.
the guys really do appreciate it,
Yeah.
And we've had wonderful clients. I mean, people that have done, special treats, feed the guys lunch. I mean, they really appreciate that. They call Donnie and will say, oh my gosh, this couple, bought us lunch and, sent us home with dinner. I mean, things like that are truly appreciated. And that's where that personal touch, you can definitely see when clients are happy with that.
Your guys made all the difference in the world and took a lot of stress off me, and I watched how much they cared. We have to cut short and move to commercial, but we'll be back talking with the Terrells from Miracle Movers, whose rise here in Moore County has really taken off like a rocket these last 3 years. I don't know how you guys sleep, but we'll be right back. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our final set, speaking with the Terrells from Miracle Movers. We've had a spirited conversation. There's so many things that people need to consider when they're selecting a mover. And one of the things we've kind of been speaking about but haven't addressed it directly is how you manage people's expectations goes a long way towards predicting the result of the interaction that you have so people are not caught off guard. And Donna, you mentioned that you encourage, or actually you might have mentioned this, you encourage people to get other estimates. But in doing so, don't you have to communicate to them, make sure that you're comparing apples with apples when getting other estimates so that people are quoting for the same thing? Because sometimes people will gravitate towards the lowest price they can get and not pay attention to the details.
Exactly. That's why I like going in and giving free in-home estimates and actually meeting the client and
Right.
be able to do a walkthrough in their house.
Right.
We have to go up against other movers all the time. And the first thing I tell people is make sure whoever you're getting an estimate from, they are licensed.
Yep.
And we've already went over why they need to be licensed. So, they know that they have a reputable company in their home. And we have to compete with them all the time. But what I like to do is, if they get an estimate from another company and they say, well, it was this much, cheaper than what you had offered me, I ask the client to email me over the estimate.
Yep.
So I can look at it myself.
Yeah, smart.
And I can see exactly, like you said, compare apples to apples.
Right.
Because like we discussed before, a lot of companies will come in and they'll lowball
The weight.
the weight, they'll lowball the packing,
Uh-huh.
and and then you have to really watch the fine print in there.
Yep.
They'll ask for deposits.
Right.
9 times out of 10, we do not take a deposit. We get payment when we deliver. So, and you have to be real careful of that also, because in that fine print, you can pay a $500 deposit, and maybe they've got you scheduled for a certain Friday. Well, maybe they can't show up that Friday, and they're saying, well, we can't do it till 2 days from now. Well, they've got your money. And in that fine print, that money is non-refundable.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of factors that go in, and I like to dissect the estimate, look at it, and just be upfront with the customer and let them know, hey, this is what you're up against. You could be paying thousands of dollars more when this is all said and done.
Yeah.
And this is what we're offering you. So it's just about being upfront with people and not misleading people just to get the work.
Yeah, and again, the personal referrals are the strongest source. I mean, I know in my business, when I get personal references, it's a different presentation than if you're going in and you're going in cold and you're starting from scratch, which is okay, but it's a different orientation.
Well, there's a lot of times because of, especially the amount of referrals we get in the Pinehurst area.
Yep.
That I'll walk into a client, I'll give them an estimate, and they'll say, "Well, I already had somebody else scheduled to come out also, but I'm just going to go with you."
Right. Right.
We've already, this person has used you, this person has used you. We love moving to real estate agents.
Yep.
And especially when a real estate agent refers us and they've already used us for their move.
Right.
It's pretty much most of the time it's not even a question.
What do you do? What kind of, and time is short, unfortunately, but tell me about the accommodations that you make to put people's mind at ease in this age of COVID.
All our guys have masks. We do wear masks. We do have gloves in the truck. We don't like wearing masks unless the client asks us to, just because when it's hot, it's difficult.
Right.
Moving's hard enough.
Right.
But we will wear masks. We keep antibacterial soap
Right.
on all the trucks.
Right.
So the guys are constantly washing their hands. We try to be really conscious of the client, what their needs are. If they're, some clients say they have a low immune system or they have this other issue. And, so we accommodate them the best way we can to get the job done in an efficient manner and to be safe for everyone. Luckily, we've been very fortunate since this whole COVID outbreak has started. We have not had one single employee
That's great.
get sick.
I'm jumping all over the place. You go into a house, you give a free home estimate. How long is that estimate good for?
Typically, the estimate's good for around 6 months.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes, sir.
That's a long time. But if people are looking and you're in their house, and if they're shopping, they're going to do that in a much shorter period of time.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
No doubt.
6, you don't have to do, that's a long time.
It is a long time, but that's a rarity. I mean,
Yeah.
most of our clients, especially this year,
Yeah.
once they call us in to do an estimate, they're closing within a month.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's in a panic, in a rush. But there are delays. There are delays due to COVID. There are delays, weather, problems with logistics and closing because the attorneys and the lenders are so backed up. We all have to be ready to, all hold hands and be a team and say the winds are going to blow and, hey, make sure you have a good pair of sneakers on because we have to be prepared for curveballs.
Yes.
And I'm sure you do that.
Oh, yeah. We have to deal with curveballs every day.
Right. Right.
That's why we offer storage.
Right.
We've got clients that are scheduled to move and they say, well, something happened. I can't get into my other house for 2 weeks. Well, we can accommodate you. We can, there's a fee for it, but we can put you into storage.
And that's what I did. I had no choice, and it worked out fine. And you take care of the logistics of all of that. So
Yes,
you
sir.
take it off my shoulders. I had plenty to worry about and to do at the time. So you packed my truck. I said goodbye to my things. Didn't see them for 4 or 5 months. And you put them in storage, I think, at Aberdeen.
NC self-storage. Yes,
That's
sir.
right. And that was a convenience to me, and that was great to be able to pay for that and not have to worry about doing it myself. You also get involved in your business, especially in our local community, with different charities and different community events. We have so many nonprofits that come on the show. Can you talk a little bit about your community involvement?
Yes, we love getting involved in our community.
Yeah.
If there's a need, or if there's an organization that needs help, we like to get involved. Ashley and I, every year we get involved with the back to school program with a local real estate company out of Cameron. We go and buy a ton of school supplies. There's another company that does a food drive every November for Christmas time, and we supply the truck. We go around and pick up all the food bags, and we deliver them to the local food bank. We've helped with benefits.
Yeah.
Anything.
Any kind of thing. And we're always looking for that opportunity. Our community is what keeps us thriving also.
Right.
So we always want to give back to the areas that have helped us out. We're a small business. Right now, small businesses are kind of suffering, so any way that we can help out in the community, we just want to give back. People have been good to us, and we also want to be good to them.
You're right. A lot of small businesses have suffered this year, but the moving business, the real estate business, we have not.
No,
we've
been fortunate.
we have not had to change our lane. We're still in our comfort zone, but we know there are a lot of businesses that have had a much tougher go of it than we have, and that can turn. But
Yes.
right now, we haven't, lost a step, and obviously you all haven't lost a step, but you want to solidify your relationships in the community.
Absolutely.
And if people want to, you've got a pretty good website. Where do you want them to go? Because you have a Facebook page, and your website, do you guys know it by heart?
It's www.miraclemoversandhills.com.
Right.
And we also have miraclemoversusa.com, and that is a list. That website has the link to every one of our other locations also. But for local moves, if you're moving locally or moving from this area to out of state, visit us at miraclemoversandhills.com.
Yeah. In closing, when we have people who are putting their home on the market to sell and they're prepping their home, one of the things that they do is we tell them they have to get their home painted inside. So they go through the process of interviewing 3 different painters. And I said, be very careful because you get what you pay for.
Yes.
Right? And they go, okay, yes, I agree. But they will maybe go and gravitate towards the lowest price. But in hindsight, they'll look back and say, I should have found you get what you pay for. And it's the same thing in moving. And it's really important that people in the public listen and shop and ask the hard questions and use their intuition and their instinct to judge where you're coming from. Are you coming from a good place? Are you over-informing, or are you under-informing and anxious just to get them to sign on the dotted line? And they have to make those judgments, and I think you guys will pass that test.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Yes. I mean, anytime we go in a home, I hope when I leave that home, the customer is a lot more knowledgeable about the moving industry and what their rights are and what they could face, in the move than when they're a lot. What word am I looking for? They're
more informed.
They're a lot more informed
and more confident.
Yes, than when I leave than than they were before I got there.
And that pretty much describes my take on your presentation when you came in. I felt good about it. I trusted you, and I knew that you were going to do the best you could. But I live in a world where there's bad weather around every corner, and I'm waiting for that storm front to come in, just like you guys
No
are.
doubt.
Yes.
So it happens, and
Yes.
we can't blame others. We just say, hey, we just deal with what we have.
Yes.
You guys have done a great job in Moore County, and I'm glad that you could come in. And I know we'll see you down the road, and wish you both the very best of luck.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
Bill.
us, Bill. We love Moore County, and we appreciate you having us on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is All Things Moore County, everyone. We're getting close to Thanksgiving. Have a great week. We'll speak to you next week.